Well, this is a Fender Telecaster 1955. I modified it a little in the 70s, so it was a bit like a Gibson as well. And that was because we were about to record the Relayer album. And I decided that after several albums featuring Gibson guitars that I'd bravely go into the area I hadn't used before, which is the fantastic sound of Fender guitars. So Relayer was a product of that. And inescapably, I've loved Telecasters more ever since then, and continue to use them in all my work. Well, Mirror to the Sky starts with this guitar. I'm playing on my own for a little bit on a line that I'd played the recording to John Davison, and he said, "Wow, I can hear some chords and I can hear all sorts of things." I said, "Oh, wow, I've not thought about that." So we developed that line for later in Mirror to the Sky, but also while I was doing that song, I felt that I'd stick with this guitar for all the lead lines that I'm going to present in the tune. That gave for me a nice roundness of continuity and strength, where particularly after the orchestra have played around the 12-minute time, this guitar comes back, hurtling back in to bring the song to an end, aided by the orchestra. This is a good example of Telecasters. I've got one other, a newer Telecaster, that as like a backup, but this one has a very satisfying and gutsy sound. And I guess there's 3 or 4 key guitars in the world that you would expect to hear in rock and roll, and this has to be one of them. So when I started playing the guitar, I only had an acoustic guitar. It was an arch top guitar with F-holes, and I moved on to electric guitar. And then in 1968, that was about 8 years after I'd started playing, I saw an advert for a guitar that I'd seen Paul Simon playing called Martin 0018. So I went off and bought one, and I've never looked back. To me, an acoustic guitar is the most important guitar in my world, because I tend to not only practice but also write on acoustic guitar. Occasionally ideas have come up on electric, like Mirror to the Sky definitely came up on electric. So there is a dualism about this, but acoustic guitar is a lot where I do my work and structural thinking. So there most probably isn't a song on any of these on Mirror to the Sky or the Quest. It doesn't have some sort of a Martin somewhere with me ploughing away. And that's because, like a piano, an acoustic guitar is a very stable sound. It's familiar to us. We know what it is. The minute you hear it go pling, it's an acoustic guitar. And but it has a very, in the spectrum of sound, it has a very important place. There most probably won't be many times when I don't present music where there's some sort of rhythm guitar. Solo guitar playing is it's at the top of the pyramid, if you like, in my thinking, because that's been my most rich output of music that I could have done, from Clap to Mood for a Day, and then another 30 tunes that I've written, compiled on my Motif series. So basically, acoustic guitar is the go-to instrument. It's the instant, not gratification, but instant result that you can get from an instrument without plugging in or doing anything else, really, without disturbing other people. Acoustic guitar is a wonderful voice, if you like, for your thinking. And I often sit and just noodle, or sometimes if I'm playing something, an idea comes. Like very often when I pick up a guitar, I do actually get ideas as opposed to sit there practicing. And I'll take them down and use them to my benefit later. Yeah, so after I've been playing about 4 or 5 years, I talked my dad into fronting the purchase of a really great guitar. I thought if I was going to go somewhere doing this, I had to have at least the best available guitar. This is a guitar I chose. And when we went to the shop, we were very disappointed we didn't have one. So I said, no, I want a 175D. And they went, no, we haven't got any, but we can order one for you. So 2 months later, I went back, and this is the guitar that was waiting for me. I went back and stared at it in my bedroom for a very long time, believing that this was work of art. You know, it's a beautiful shape, beautiful design. And over the years, I developed gauging that I really love on this. And it's kind of unusual, 12, 12, 16, 26, 40, 50. So it's kind of hard and soft. It's got a little bit, but it's firm. It's stable. So anyway, this guitar's been part of my life story since then. So it's been on just about every record I've ever made somewhere, sometimes very heavily featured. And on the Quest, it was pretty heavily featured, you know, on the second, fourth, many tracks on that album. And the same on this one. So when I'm here and I want to pick up on an idea I've got, something tells me in my head whether I'm going there or there, what kind of guitar I get. I just go out into my guitar room and select a guitar or two. And but this one is for special occasions, special things, and it always lives up to the sound that I want from it and the work that I put in on it. But also, I find it the easiest guitar to play. It has a smoothness and I get results on this guitar and I get ideas and I construct solos on this from a chord, you know, from a riff or a chord pattern. So basically, this is my dream guitar, and I'm very happy to say I've still got it. So of course, yeah, I've collected guitars, love that very much, and have a broad selection of guitars to use. And this guitar came along in about 1978. It's called a Gibson ES Artist, and it's an active guitar, which means it's got a battery and it has special pots and switches and things. It's a bit of a gizmo, but it sounds quite nice, especially when about 4 years ago I had it renovated by Tim Stark, who was at Manson Guitars, builds Manson Guitars. Basically, he took the guitar and we had some problems with it, had some greening with it. There was a bit of sort of something happening to the guitar. We freshened it all up, got it going, and I just couldn't stop playing it. So I was recording a lot with this over the last few years. So basically, what it does for me is it's a nice fresh sound. Then I come through on both these albums, The Quest and Mirrors and Sky. You know, if a song's been sitting around for a while and it's building up nicely, and then there's a moment where we devise we need some guitar bass or something, and I pull this out, I'll just go right there. You know, if it's the right guitar for that moment, then I get some nice thematic or melodic lines going. And so this guitar's been unusual because the other part of the story is I used this guitar for a very long time with Asia in the original years and in the reunion years. So that's a lot of playing. This guitar was my main Asia guitar. But strangely enough, I never felt that that was the end of it. So although I'm not really playing with Asia anymore, this guitar's had new life. It's found in Yes and my solo work. Well, my goals as a guitarist changed quite a bit as my ideas broaden out to think about the guitar as a family of instruments, you know, that all had strings and most of them had frets and, you know, maybe I can do this or do that. But even before I started playing the guitar, I was really quite astounded to hear the sound of a steel guitar, sometimes pedal steel guitar, particularly by Speedy West or more sort of like popular music style Santo and Johnny. So I heard this guitar and I thought, oh yeah. So as I started buying guitars in the early 70s to use as a platform to go into these different areas, one of the first things I bought was it was a Gibson steel guitar that you played on your lap. So got a Fender like this with two necks that is notoriously the Yes part of the Yes sound. what I found was that there were things I wanted to play on the guitar, but didn't really know how to. But when I went to a steel guitar, I could do those same things, and like the vibratos and the slides, the move between notes, somehow it's very graceful. So it's got a particular kind of voice. And I think in the 70s, soon was one voice, the clear, unaffected kind of sound. And then there was like also going for the one, which was more like a rock sound that I was using in it. So ever since then, the steel guitars, it just caught up in my guitar playing. So at times I'll switch to steel or do whole tunes, only doing the lead line on a steel guitar. I find it really exciting to do that. And no exception is the Quest, many songs, this comes in, I play this. But, I try not to play it on every song because, something like Ice Bridge didn't need a steel. There are other songs that didn't have any steel. But on The Mirror to the Sky, there was, again, this kind of feeling like all connected opens up with steel. And there's a lot of steel work in that song. There's quite a bit of guitar stuff as well. So as the album goes through, you get an idea that I switched from guitar and then I'm sliding around on steel a little bit. To me, that's colour. And I think I got this from Chet Atkins, not only Speedy West and the actual colour of the steel guitar, but Chet Atkins was a guitarist who played in a remarkable way where it sounded like he was influenced by so many things, so many different styles of music. And that's something I admired, really a lot about him. And I wanted to emulate that in some way. So it was a great chance to meet him. And I wish I'd met, some of the great steel guitarists of the time. I liked Jimmy Day very much as well, who was a very, very, very clever player. So this Fender guitar is really called a Stringmaster Pro 1. And the reason it's got that slightly different name from the Fenders you'll see on eBay and things, which are all called Students or Champs or that, is they've all got one pickup. Now this steel has two pickups, as does the double neck that I use with Yes. And I searched a long time and waited a long time to get a single neck because they're so mobile and easy to use and straightforward. This is what I need: 6 strings and the 2 pickup model. And that's what the Stringmasters are, is a 2 pickup model. So I think I waited for about 10 years of searching to get one of these. There's only a few of them around. And I'm delighted to say this is the steel I've been using, in the last few years. It's a lot more accessible, immediate. It's only got 3 legs as opposed to 4. And there you have it, the Fender steel guitar.